it's a lot to take on as a kid who's still trying to figure out how do I even feel about this thing? I don't even know if this is me. And if it is, then what? And if it isn't, then what? So every time I ticked off a box, I realized, hey, that person said I couldn't do it. And I managed to do that. Cool, mental note. Next one, hey, and slowly but surely you start to build this confidence in yourself.
Hello everybody and welcome to Switch On with myself, Kyle Clark, a show curated to be the most beautiful love letter to our generation. It's the guidance you never knew you needed from the people you wanted to hear it from the most. Do me a favor, it's so nice to have you back and I'm so glad that you're watching this episode. Leave a review, engage with us and share the moments that inspire you. I'm excited because today's show, I'm telling you, we are sitting with an absolute frontrunner. Today's show, we sit down with legendary choreographer, music artist, B-girl, and TV personality Courtnaé Paul as she breaks down the importance of grit and how to overcome rejection through leading a life without fear. Courtnaé unpacks her life's work and tells us about the struggles and challenges she had to encounter to get where she is today. It's time to switch on. Courtnaé, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you. Like I said to you as soon as you walked in, I said to you, you are definitely a front runner. And because I believe this season is dedicated to females, I really wanted you to take up space in the show. How have you been? Are you good?
I'm good. I'm feeling amazing and I'm super happy to actually be here. I've been watching the show and I think this is much needed.
100%. It's so crazy because on Zoraita's episode, we always spoke about our previous generations and like our parents and, our ancestors and how they never had these kind of podcasts to look for guidance in. Is this something that you like mental health and listening to these kind of things, has this helped you through your career?
100%. I think I actually shared a podcast once and that's when you responded. You was like, oh my word, do you listen to this stuff? Like I need to get you on my show. Like I'm very, I live in my head all the time. So I need to make sure that my home is clean or to the best of my ability at least. So I'm always listening to stuff. I'm always researching. I'm always taking in information. And you need the know-how to be able to navigate all the information. So it's very important.
Sister, you are so busy. And your career, I mean, you started out as a dancer, went to like one of the best, I'm actually not even going to say one of the best B-girl that we have in the country at the moment.
On the continent, by the way.
Whoa! You see, this is what I'm talking about. Take up space. On the continent for sure. And moved over into a fully fledged choreographer, done incredible shows, then became a TV personality. Now you're a DJ, now you're a host at the same time. How do you juggle it?
It sounds like a lot when you say it, but to be honest, it's really all just like natural progressions of what I love. I've always been somebody that if I like it, I'm going to try it at least once. And if I try it and I love this thing, then I'm in it. And it all just feels like me. It doesn't feel like, oh, today I'm a DJ, today I'm host. No, it just feels like me.
Do you find yourself, because you juggle so much, so do you find yourself being able to dedicate a lot of quality time to certain aspects of your life? So is there like a moment through your day? Because I find this with a lot of people that take on a lot of stuff. They have to dedicate a specific amount of time to that task. So do you have time for DJing? Then you have time for practice. Then you have time for whatever else that you're doing at the same time?
I think it depends what that day looks like. I'm very lucky if I manage to have the same day twice. So I have structure that's very unstructured, if that makes sense. So a normal day looks like 2 hours of training in the morning, 1 hour of gym somewhere in the day, meetings, whether it's Zooms, whether it's a fitting or whatever, and then family time. So yes, it's structured in that way, but where it comes in the day, I have to stay like adaptable because it's not a 9 to 5 kind of job. It's a 24-hour thing. So some days I don't go home. You know what I mean? Some days I'm away for weeks at a time. So it's just about you finding that structure in yourself and hopefully having partners and people around you that are okay with that as well.
That's amazing. A lot of people, I believe a lot of people want to jump into entrepreneurship and what they don't understand is that they think it's a 9 to 5 commitment, but it's actually not. It's a 24-hour commitment.
It does not
You don't stop. And sometimes you have to, I found myself, sometimes you actually have to make peace with the pure fact that you have to work 24/7. You have to be always switched on. So when was the moment in your life that you knew that you could make a living out of not your God-given talents, but who you actually are as a person. Because, I mean, Courtnaé Paul is not really a B-girl personality. She's a brand, you know? So when was the moment that you realized that? Yes!
I think for me, it's not like one big thing happened, like, then I knew. I think it's happened over time. So again, coming from a small community in Durban, colored and Indian community, where you're like, hey, I want to dance. And they're like, yeah, you dance at like the monthly talent show that happens at the school, and it stops there. You know what I mean? Coming here, dancers generally have access to a bank of knowledge, generations of dancers, and then also just knowledge of dance styles. And coming from Durban, I had no idea if I was even breaking to begin with. No,
you're honest. Like, am I actually doing
I'm
the
not
move?
sure what I'm doing. You know, and then the moment I left home, then people are like, you're not doing it right. Then I was like, okay, let me stop. So coming from where I come from, it's like, you can have your little talents, but then please go get an education and please go get a job and call it a day. You know, so every time I ticked off a box, I realized, hey, that person said I couldn't do it. And I managed to do that. Cool, mental note. Next one, hey, you know, and slowly but surely you start to build this confidence in yourself. And I think I moved to Joburg at 21. I opened the SAMAs when I should have been writing an accounting exam.
I remember that. I remember that distinctively.
There were so many things where I had to make a choice. Yes. And it was always a fight. And slowly but surely it got a lot easier to answer to my calling, you know. And now I'm just at a space where it's the decision about becoming that person that really determines whether you become that person. You either listen to the noise and the naysayers like, we've never seen this before. Okay, cool. I'm about to show you. Or let me take a step back and not make it happen. So that's the change for me. 21, I would say, was the big one. When I moved here, no money, no backing, nothing. My mother was like, see you in a month. I'm like, 9 years later, you know. She's like, when are you coming home? So again, a decision. And then being a backup dancer, I decided I want more. And I decided not to backup dance anymore. And I wanted to be a choreographer. And these were the rates I wanted. I would say for the first 3 months, I had not a single booking. 3 months after, I was earning exactly what I wanted to. You know what I mean? So it's always this tug of war. And it's not stuff that comes easy. You have to be willing to
throw yourself into uncomfortable situations.
100%.
When you jumped from one section, so let's say you went from a dancer to being a choreographer, I am sure, and I mean, knowing the industry very well, I'm sure you got a lot of hate for not being qualified enough, or 100%. Not being, you know, having a certain degree or having a certain type of education, or did you really practice with this person? And like, you know, especially because the dancing industry, they hold themselves to a certain standard. Like, if you have not been trained by Mia Michaels, you are not a contemporary teacher. Yeah. You know, so how did you deal with that, jumping from being a backup dancer to being a choreographer and getting all of that type of perspectives thrown at you?
So I think twofold, right? So the hate was nothing new.
Yeah.
It's
You're like, I've been here.
Yeah, it's a space I'm very comfortable in. It doesn't, certain things rock me, but give me 2 minutes and I don't give a damn. You know what I mean? So moving into that space, I've never been the type of female dancer that makes sense on anybody else's stage.
Yes.
That was a thing for me. And initially it made me feel so uncomfortable, and it made me feel like maybe I'm in the wrong space. And then I was like, cool, then I need to create my own space. So when I moved here, the jobs were few and far between already. And I think that's why dancers hold themselves up there, because the industry is way too small, right? So we're all fighting for the smallest piece of the pie. And in that sense, not growing. And nobody is earning where they should be because we're all too busy fighting over nonsense. True, you know? Story. So when I come in here, I see the gigs that are available, and I'm immediately like, I don't do that style. I'm not going to wear that outfit. Can I get the solo? Let me run up the wall, you know? And everyone's like, no, that's not how this thing works. So it was a bit of like, I was a little bit forced out in a way. Not forced like aggressively, but forced like, if I want to make a living and a career off this thing, I need to make a move.
And you need to adjust to other people's narratives, right? And
find my own in the process.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. And I mean, you know, you've probably thrown yourself into situations where the brief was given to you and that's not who Courtnaé Paul is, and 100%. You wanted to change that. Like, how was those conversations for you when you're like, okay, but I don't want to wear that. That's not who I am at the core. Can I not wear these Reeboks, for an example? You know, because that's me.
Yeah. I think there's been a few, but the biggest one was probably a Samsung gig that we did. Like, with 10 girls, 10 guys, I still have the photo somewhere. And I mean, everybody from Robin to like And everybody the guys had the same outfit and the girls had the same outfit, which was the fishnet stockings with the hot shorts. And I had a solo.
Flash mob.
Yo, yeah. At the stadium, like it was a big deal. And I needed the money. Like I really needed the money. So I go to the gig, everybody's doing the fitting. Goal day, everybody, they're so happy with their outfit because I mean, it's them. And I'm standing there like, this is uncomfortable. Then they're like, also, you've got a solo of 2 minutes. And I'm like, I must be breaking in fishnets. Now you really like, and I was so upset. And I went to them and I said, I cannot do this. Well, if you're not going to wear the outfit, you need to leave. And I'm thinking, okay, cool. This is a moment for me. I'm either going to do this thing because I need the money or I'm going to call it a day. Sharp. I go home, bawling my eyes out, trying to figure out how I'm going to make this up, I think 2 hours later, I get a call from the stylist. She's like, can I come fetch a pair of your pants so we can make you an outfit?
Wow. And
there's a picture of me standing with all the girls and they're in their fishnets and I've got my drop.
That's amazing.
So it's moments like that where it's almost like do or die. And it doesn't need to always be that extreme, but I come from that place. I come from a place of always having to either like fight or flight. So
let's go back to your community, because a lot of the things that you're saying to me is a lot of the narrative that I also grew up with, which is suck it up and get over it.
Yeah,
100%. And when you are trying to build your own career and your own brand, you don't always want to suck it up and get over it. Like you want to... because if you're going out there in fishnet stockings, that's just not who you are, Like there were many times, for an example, where I would dance backup. I remember doing backup at Joburg Day for Jamali, and I had to dress in drag.
Hey.
And that's, like I'm gay, honey, but that's not me.
That's not you,
That's not me. Like I'm not that kind of girl, And I remember the choreographer at the time and the head of PR was like, suck it up and get over it. But I was like, but this is not who, like I'm about to stand in front of 100,000 people. This is not who I am. But then I remember also going back to my childhood that is the narrative that we've always been conditioned to adhere to, How many times in your life and your career, going back to like 18 years old up until where you are now, have you had to suck it up and get over it? And how many times did you actually stand up for yourself and win?
Suck it up and get over it probably all the time, but not in a sense of accepting whatever's dealt to me. In life, yes, but work, no.
Yeah.
I think what I've lacked in like life skills and having to just deal with at home, I've made up for in my career. Where there I can go in with a backbone. At home, it's like if your mother says, this is the way it is, you're almost like, okay. Like even it'd be under your breath, you're like, no, I don't believe it. But to her, you're like, yeah, 100%.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Sharp.
So it's a tricky one because it's taken me a long time. Growing up the way that I did, I didn't even know I was gay until people told me. Oh, wow. Surely as a tomboy, like you always dress like a boy. This means you're gay. Now I'm like, you didn't even give me a chance to figure it out.
Myself.
So even then moving here and getting into the industry, nobody gave me a chance to figure out what I needed to do, which is why for a long time, I think I even stopped dancing for a while. I stopped breaking for a long time because I was like, maybe this is not where I'm supposed to be. I'm experiencing so much friction in a space that's supposed to be, each one teach one and a community.
And people labeling you without your own consent.
Yeah, and then the switch to that is like when you get a gig and you need to dress a certain way. I get that it's for a job, but then also when you hire me, you know what you're gonna get. There's been a million times where a client has given me a brief and I've switched it based on my mindset, and they're like, "This works." And then I get stupid comments like, "Oh, but you've got a good body. You're so pretty. Why wouldn't you wear this?" It's not the point. You know what I mean? It's not the point. Yeah. So that's the thing. Is you have to have such a backbone. If depending on where you want to take it. If you're just looking for the next paycheck, which is also okay, then I suppose you're a little bit more flexible on the next step.
Have you found yourself losing a lot of gigs because you've had to stand up for yourself a lot of times? A lot of the time? 2-3
years ago, yes.
Okay.
Now I'm in a position where I say no to more work than I say yes.
That's incredible.
Because I've decided to take like the power back in a sense. Before it was me going, hey, I know this is not really what you're looking for, but what do you think? No, we're not interested. Okay, cool. Now people are coming to me and I'm more than comfortable saying this is not me. I don't want it.
This is not my vibe. That's amazing. You spoke about your dad, and when did he pass away?
First year, grade 8, I was 13.
Wow.
Very sudden, like
random.
Out of the blue, yeah.
Seriously random. How was it growing up for you with a single mom, obviously, and being openly gay? without a father figure in your life from 13 years on?
Switch
On is deep, guys, so we're about to get real deep.
I always think that my dad would have probably loved it. He always called me the son he didn't have, like, because I've got two sisters.
Yeah.
So he always used to say, I'm going to die early. There's too many women in this house. And true snaps, he did. Like, he was a larger than life personality.
Wow.
We look the same. We sound the same. And it's my mother constantly saying it's a very, I suppose, scary thing for her sometimes. But when he died, I didn't really have a clue yet. I guess I had feelings, but I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
Because again, coming from a community of color, it's not something you really put out there in fear of your life, maybe. Or if it is there, nobody talks about it. You hide it.
In fear of your life, for sure.
100%,
yes.
So I think my dad would have loved it. I played soccer. He coached a team. Everything I did, sports, I was very athletic growing up. So everything I did sports-wise, he was in my corner.
Wow.
So when he passed, I almost felt like I'd lost my cheerleader.
Yeah.
And my mother and I had a very rocky couple years thereafter, because she's just dealing with losing her husband, who was her absolute bestie. My elder sister's out the house. It's just me and my little sister, who I think was 4 at the time. I'm now having to grow up and fill my dad's shoes in some way or another. And it was hectic, because we the way the home dynamic changes is something else. So it was trying to figure out how to support my mother going through what she went through, and then trying to deal with people who were like, let me support your mother, but I'm also trying to date her, because here's a woman grieving with a house and a car, and
easy target.
Very much so. So I became a fighter then and there immediately. But I think that's why when I said to you I had to grow up very fast, I had to grow up very fast. Very fast.
It's so insane, and we have a lot of listeners and we have a lot of engagers that always talk about death, and losing a parent. I don't even want to think about it, because I can just imagine that pain growing up must have just been so unbearable. And for you as a human being, having the feelings that you did from 13 years onwards, going through high school, going through all the gigs, all the stuff, being labeled without your own consent, like, that must have been really difficult for you. And especially, I think, growing up in a household where it's dominant on just female power. And I'm sure that your sisters and your mom are very girly compared to...
100%.
Yeah. That must have been
like,
so
it's crazy
difficult.
Because we all look the same. Like, if you had to see a picture of me and my two sisters,
I have seen, you guys look super identical.
like the same.
Yeah.
But completely different people. So I grew up with, like, you making us look bad.
Wow.
People are talking.
Wow.
It's a lot to take on as a kid who's still trying to figure out,
how
do I even feel about this thing? I don't even know if this is me. And if it is, then what? And if it isn't, then what? Like, you're not giving me room to figure it out. So we came a long way. And I would say only the last couple of years have my family become my biggest supporters in that area of my life. I suppose even in my career, because if you ask my mother today, what do I do? She's probably like, I'm actually not sure.
Like my mom says the same thing.
I'm not sure. Like, the turning point for her, I think, was the first time she saw me on Yo TV. She was like,
yes,
that's my, like, prior, she was like, you are embarrassing. I was like, get a job. Now
you're on SABC One.
On Yo TV.
That's so crazy. And you said previously that you and your mom had a very rocky relationship growing up through high school. I mean, I can relate to that. And I think I get to a point in my life now, like, me and my mom are best friends at this moment in time. But also,
just today, we're not sure about tomorrow.
Just today. No, but genuinely, like, my mom is really my best friend. And if I look back to what our generations were before to what it is now, as I said to you in the beginning of this episode, our parents didn't have a lot of tools to deal with gay children. Was that the topic of your conversation between you and your parents always? Or was it just something really difficult, like the heat between you and your mom?
I think in the beginning it was just way too heated. Okay. Way too heated.
And you were also a reflection of your dad. So that for her must have been like,
even worse.
Seriously.
Like, she always says, like, I'm the one child she never hit. Because she couldn't. Like, I'd either start laughing and then the moment is ruined. Like, we do have a very good relationship. But it's often not a mother and daughter relationship. Like, I always say she's my oldest child. Like, and again, she's just like I am. She's quite crazy. And as much as, yes, she wasn't given the handbook on how to figure this out as I got older. Neither was she. She wasn't prepared to lose my dad, know? So it's also me going, okay, mom, I see you and I see that you're learning, and we're learning together almost. So in the beginning, it was a lot.
Do you find yourself having a lot more compassion now, the older that you get?
I think so. There's a lot that I'm not willing to accept.
Okay.
And I've learned a lot more and I'm exposed to a lot more. And it doesn't mean that because I'm strong enough to deal with something in a certain way that you are. You know what I mean?
And your family around you, because I know colored families, I mean, I come from one myself, it's very difficult. It's a very difficult conversation to have. And there's not a lot of, and I'm sure you can understand this, especially in the industry, there's not a lot of representation for coloreds and Indians out there at all.
Funny enough, I actually did an interview last week and I brought that up and I said, you know how difficult it is, not only just being colored in this industry, but then being gay on top of it. And his response was, no, man, there's colored. So I said, let's name them.
Yeah, please.
I said,
let's go through the list. Yeah.
And then he was like, you know, and I don't want to make it a race thing, but it is very difficult.
It is.
The other side of that is having the skin complexion that I do really puts me in a weird position because I can't tell you how much work I lose monthly based on people thinking I'm white. But I'm not white enough to get the white person's job. It's a very weird thing. Like even on my social media, like, yeah, shy, I'm low and good. This girl can dance. And then I'm like, but I'm not white. You know, so it's played me in a way. What was your question? Now, completely shout out to the white people out there. Oh, about representation.
Yes, there we go. Well, specifically about your colored family around there. So obviously you being gay, Courtnaé Paul, between you and your sisters and your mom, chilled vibes.
Yeah.
But now let's go to the aunties, uncles, the grannies.
So when talking about my family, it's such a crazy melting pot. Like, I think everybody was initially Catholic, and then my eldest aunt, so my mother's elder sister, is Pentecostal now. The middle one is Muslim. My mother went Methodist when she married my dad. Then went back to Catholicism. I'm like, can you pick a side? But funny enough, the rest of my family extremely supportive.
Wow.
Extremely. Like, that's especially beautiful. My Muslim aunt. Like, she's the one that's like, when are we getting a wedding? I'm like, oh.
Calm down.
You know, relax, auntie. But we're very, very close. My dad's family is a little bit more reserved, which is weird because he was crazy. Yeah. But my mother's family, love, support. And I think the turning point for my mother was probably when she realized that everybody else didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, they were chilled.
So as people of color, the first thing is, what are people going to say? People are talking about me. People are judging me. And then when she realized people support me and celebrate me for who I am, I think that's when the wheel started to turn like, hey, I've made this something it really shouldn't have been. Yeah.
You know, myself and my mom actually had a conversation about this last week. And, you know, coming to where she is at the moment and realizing, she always said to me, my mom always said to me was, my biggest fear was, I didn't care that you were gay. I didn't care that you liked other guys. I cared about what the world was going to say about you. And I cared about you being hurt by other people because of what they would say about you through high school. I'm sure you've been bullied. How did you?
Sure. So I think primary school, I was bullied in a way that is not like traditional bullying. Yeah. When I sit and think back and I have conversations with my girlfriend and I'm like, oh my word, that was actually me being bullied. Like I had no clue. Getting into high school was a little easier because I almost became a bit of a bully, like which I'm not proud of. Yeah, but I almost had to like suddenly have. I remember my first day of grade 8. There was a matric girl picking on me. Wow. And I remember like rocking with her. And then I got called into the principal's office for starting the fight and for being this grade 8 that was fighting with a matric girl, but she picked on me. And that kind of set me off for the rest of my high school years where it was like, hey, don't mess with her because she will go to task. You know what I mean? And I think that's translated a little bit into the rest of my life where I realize I can be a bit of a walkover because I'm always assuming that you have it harder than me. Yeah. And because of what I've gone through in my life, I know I'm strong enough, so I allow you to walk over me, and that's translated into work, relationships, and it almost sometimes just takes that one moment of having a backbone, like that first day of grade 8, like maybe sitting when I was 21 and deciding this is that, or the client that gives me the brief that is not me. It's those little moments that set you up for the rest, where people go, okay, cool, we see the monster we're kind of playing with now. And it's not to say be a mean person or anything like that, but you have to draw the line somewhere. And that was a big thing for me, is figuring out or getting to a place where I could comfortably do that, because I've never been comfortable doing that. I mean, I think you know a bit of my history, whether it's in the industry. I've never called people out. I've never, and it's not that I can't. In my mind, I'm always just like, shame, you must be going through a lot. Like, it's fine, drag me.
I've noticed you actually always you take a very third party perspective where it's not your place, you don't have to say anything. And This
Which
is
I
what
don't know
I've
if it's
really
a good
enjoyed
thing,
about you.
but hey.
That's what I've really enjoyed about you, actually, is you, through the years, especially in your industry, and especially within dancing and within media, people have so much to say all the time. And what I've always loved about you and all the stuff that you put out there is that you always stay in your lane. You've always stayed in your lane and focused on your own journey. It never ever was about anyone else. And I appreciate a lot. I appreciate that about you so much, because I've watched you over the years, and there's been so many times where, I've been in conversations and your name would be brought up, or there has been conversations, and you didn't need to defend yourself. And it took you a long time to get there, I'm sure.
100%. I think we get so caught up in trying to make sure that everybody likes us
and does right by you.
I've been a people pleaser my whole life.
Wow.
And I think that stems from just my family dynamic and trying to make sure that everybody else is happy around me before I figure out how I feel about the situation. That now I'm just at a place where I just don't care. Not in a bad way, but because I physically can't take that on. There's way too much going on in my life. I have a family to look after, and it's not a money thing. It's emotionally. I want to be there for people. I want to experience my life. And I wasted so much time worrying about what so-and-so said and so-and-so did and this status. And it took away a lot of my life. It took away a lot of my light. But that being said, I suppose you got to go through it in order to come out on the other side,
Let's go back to your career a little bit. I want to specifically talk about, because your energy always gives me a fight or flight mode. And I love that about you, because I believe that's survival 101.
Yeah.
Very fight or flight. A lot of people have said to me, during my career specifically, I always wanted to be on top billing. I always wanted to be that TV presenter. I wanted to be Kat. I wanted to be Christopher Jafta. I wanted to be Jonathan Boyton Lee. Like, that's who I've always wanted. I knew being a host was always my career path. And for many years during the industry, and this, you feel like people are sleeping on you.
Sure.
All the time. You can be as talented as you want to, but you always feel like people are sleeping on you. When is the moment that you realized, because I realized it myself, hence Switch On, was that people were not sleeping on me. I've been sleeping on myself for so long.
Sure.
When is the moment that you realized that?
That's powerful. Again, I think it was those little moments, the defining moments where I chose myself over opinion. So again, I was speaking to Slicker last week sometime. He was interviewing me about something, and he was literally like, I had no idea you were this person. Like, we've known each other forever, but we've never sat and had a conversation. And I spoke about certain things, especially as a female DJ. There's a little trend going on right now where, like, you can blow up overnight. Nobody knows if you can even play. It's a very weird thing, and I'm never going to be that girl. I give props to whoever can do that, great, but I'm never going to be that girl. I'm going to be the girl that's constantly, like, slogging away in order to get my props. Yeah. And him and I were talking, and he said to me, I always think people are sleeping on me, and I always think I don't get the recognition I deserve. And then I look back and I go, I'm earning what I want. I'm comfortable. I have the home, the car, the family, the clients that I want. So is it a likes thing? Is it an attention thing? Because then I'm just an attention seeker. Yeah. And I sat back and I was like, damn. And it changed my perspective of what sleeping on me is. Wow. Because right now, as I sit here, I have no complaints about my life, my career. Obviously, there's goals and things I want to achieve. But would I swap it for anybody or anything? No. When you say sleeping on me, is it because people are not giving me the attention that I want, or the circles are not seeing the value? Then does that just make me an attention seeker when I've got everything that comes with being put on? It's a very weird thing, and I think I'm still figuring it out, And it
takes a long time to get there. And sure. I mean, once you realize that you are sleeping on yourself, it's about writing your own destiny and writing your own path. And that's what I love about you, is that everything has been on your own terms. Yeah. And it's taken you a long time to get to that perspective, but you've created everything around you. A lot of people believe, and I know this for a fact because I've actually, and you don't know this, but I've actually been in one of your pitches on a Zoom call before. And I've listened to how you've pitched before, and I've listened to how you've pitched the show, and you literally write your own destiny. And I relate to you a lot because we're exactly the same. If I want something, I'm going to go for it. Yeah. And I'm not going to wait for brands to come to me. I'm not going to wait for people to recognize me. If I want something, I can pitch it, I can propose it, let's do it, How did it feel getting to that point of your life that, you can write your own destiny and everything is unlimited for you. There is an unlimited pool of wealth and abundance waiting for you, but it's only up to you.
I think it's still part of the journey, man. Like, again, I've always been that person that if I wanted something, I had to go and get it.
Yeah.
For some reason, like even when I moved here, people assumed that I came from money or that I came from like opportunity.
Yeah,
very weird. Maybe because I didn't complain about the situation I was in. I don't know. It was very weird. Like when I moved, I think I was sponsored by DC at the time. You know, so everyone's like, oh, you see, sponsors. She knows people. I'm like, I don't know anybody, but I've never been scared to knock on a door. Purely because I've never known anything else. Even in my home life, my parents have never spoon-fed me to say, look, we're going to sort this out. Don't worry, you go. Like even when I moved here, I was paying for my UNICEF fees myself. You know what I mean? Like, and my mother's like, so how's it going? I'm like, help me.
Please send e-wallet.
yeah. You know, so it's taken a long time. But it's always just a continuation of where I began. I've never always been great at it. I've never always gotten a yes. In fact, there's always 10 times more no's than a yes. You know, and again, I think it just comes from the mindset. If you're gonna wait around, then you're gonna be waiting around for a very long time. And again, I think just based on my life experiences, like from very young, life is way too short for me to give a damn about what you think, for one, and then for two, for me to sit around and dream and not act on it.
That's amazing. I mean, guys, Courtnaé just speaks life. Even my mom is at the back of the studio, she's like, yes, this is the girl we need in our life. I'm super proud of you, dude.
Thank
like
you
you've
so
really
much.
just done the most. And, you know, I'm so happy to have you on the show. There's a couple more questions that I have for you that are specific towards you. What is the biggest spiritual highlight of your life?
Sure.
Something you can remember?
Yo, there's a few, actually. I've had so many like reawakenings.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
Do you believe in other, like meditation? Do you believe in seeing spirit guides, spiritual healers?
To an extent. So I think to understand me spiritually is to understand where it all began. Okay. So I grew up in a Methodist church where literally there was one lady with an organ, like church for an hour. Nobody even knows what's happening in the front, but cool, we went to church, it's done. And then at about 11, a friend of mine asked me to come to her church across the road, Pentecostal church, lights, cameras, music, dancers. And that's how I started dancing.
Wow.
So I would say easily 7 years thereafter was church.
Wow.
Every day, which was a great foundation for me. And I think the belief system, not just in terms of Christianity, but in myself, that came out of that, because suddenly I wasn't just dealing with all the good stuff. I was dealing with being judged in a church.
Yes.
I was dealing with, you know, all the red tape in a church, and not knocking the churches, but it's just my experience, you know. So I've always had a very close connection with myself, with my spirit, with my inner guides, if you will. And then again, losing my dad. It's always this feeling of having guides around you. Beginning of this year, I lost my gran, who was my closest, like, I can't even tell you, ride or die vibe. And the day it happened, I was on a plane. I just landed in Cape. Like, my mother called me. I sat down. I was like, Mama, I'll call you back. I'm about to take off. She's like, cool, call me when you land. I get into Cape Town. I walk into Woolies. I get my dried mango. I'm going to set. And she calls. And she was like, just to let you know, Ma's gone, da-da-da-da. And I was like, cool, thank you so much for letting me know. I went the whole day shooting. Nobody knew a thing. I didn't speak to anyone about it. I got on the plane that day. I got into the Uber and I just collapsed.
Bold.
Like, I was done. And it's those little moments where sometimes I feel like people are guiding me and I'm floating through something and I'm strong enough. And then there's moments that hit you out of nowhere. And it's in those moments that you realize how connected you are to whatever it is. And that's what's going to get you through. Unless you've been through moments, like I've been hijacked. I've had 9 staples in my head. I've been stabbed over a phone, like weird stuff. And in those moments, it's like if you've never come that close.
So you like my sister. Like, that's my life story.
And to that guy, wherever you are.
Yeah.
Like when you've had those kinds of moments in life, you realize that there's this other tether that you're connected to. And it's very hard for me to explain. But you, as somebody that's gone through that kind of stuff, you can't not be connected to something. Yeah.
Do you mask your dark times with work?
I think I mask everything with work.
Is work like your therapy for you? That's how you get
I'm
out
very
of
happy
your
working.
Okay.
You know, when I'm doing it, I'm probably complaining if it's longer hours or whatever,
yeah.
but I love it. I would never change what I do. That being said, I'm also very capable of saying not today, or not this week, or I can't make it.
Me too.
Like I'm supposed to be in Paris on the 4th of December for some competition. I think I go a week before, and I was like, no, because there's an event and a play in South Africa on the same date. I'm learning where I can give my energy and where I can't, because I am a very high energy person. There's nothing that I do like half-assed ever. So if I'm here, I'm here. And when I go home, I am drained because I gave you everything I had. So same thing when it comes to my work, regardless of what I'm doing, anybody will tell you I am here. People are often like, relax, it's not that great. I'm like, hey, life is short, man.
Like, no idea.
I'm inside, So when it's time to calm down and relax and block off a few days, I'm happy to do that too.
What does a dark slump look like for you?
Staying in bed.
Okay.
Ordering stuff that I probably don't eat, and it's just
can have all my money. Actually,
actually, I want my money back.
Yeah,
like, I spent way too much.
They don't even
money.
give me vouchers, honestly.
Not even a discount, guys. It's probably staying in bed, just watching whatever's on TV. I remember, I think last month I was trying to watch a movie for like 6 weeks.
Wow.
Because sometimes I just don't have that kind of time to like finish a movie. But I have those days. Like sometimes, like I'm very high anxiety a lot of the time.
Really?
Then I have my depressive states where I'm just done with life. Like I go through a lot mentally.
Wow.
But I've kind of figured out, one, I've acknowledged what it is, which I've never been able to do before. Maybe it's an education thing. I didn't know what this thing was.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, you grow up in a community where, hey, you're going through something, pull it together. Like you got no time for
Suck it up and get over it.
Yeah. You know, so again, when
whatever this is, doesn't matter.
It's not working right now.
Doesn't matter.
We need the happy chords. We need the one that's smiling and bouncing around. Like, if I'm in a room and I'm sitting quietly, immediately, what's wrong? Because I'm not allowed to be quiet. I'm not allowed to have an off moment because that's not what you expect of me. Yeah. You know, so yeah, man, I definitely have those days. Sometimes I'm just drained. Like yesterday I was at training and I just physically couldn't do anything. My body wasn't tired. Yeah. My mind was tired. You know?
So it looks like different things. Yeah, you have to learn how to say no to a lot of things. And I love that you delegate your energy. It's really important, you know. And you are a type A personality, a lot like me, very high performing individual. That's why you have so many names underneath who Courtnaé Paul is. But Courtnaé Paul is a brand, but she's a beagle, she's a DJ, she's a choreographer, she's a this, she's a that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I mean, your dark slumps, I resonate with them a lot, and it's very difficult to get yourself out of it because you know, a lot of people don't really understand is that you can throw yourself into a dark slump, but it's how many times are you able to survive and take yourself out of it? 100%. Because every single time gets harder. Every single time doesn't get easier. And
every time also looks very different.
Every time looks so different. You know, I just got my wisdoms out and I've been training for almost 4 months. I had this incredible body before my wisdoms came out. And wow, was wisdoms an opportunity as an excuse for me to not do anything with my life? You know, and it's been so difficult. Shout out to the wisdoms. Shout out to the wisdoms. I'm not that wise any longer, guys. You know, and it's been so difficult for me to get myself out of that dark slump and push myself back to where I was, you know. Stepping into your purpose is a very difficult thing. And to do it daily, Monday to Sunday, is even more difficult. You know, for you, what is the definition of stepping into your purpose?
I think, like you're saying, it's a daily choice for me. It gets blurry sometimes because, like you just mentioned, a whole list of people that you wanted to be. I don't have one.
Wow.
And not because nobody is worthy or no. It's just, if you look in South Africa, I think growing up, the only colored woman I ever saw on TV was Losha Cooper. Backstage. And even then, she wasn't dancing the style that I did. So even then, I was like, oh my word, if I was to make it,
that would
as
be
the one girl, she would be the person, and that would be the style. It wasn't going to be this. Fast forward a couple of years, Sade on Yo TV. It was the only like tomboy colored that I ever saw. Then I was like, oh my word, I love this person.
It's possible.
It's possible. You know what I mean? So again, I'm sitting here going, when people say, who do you want to be the next? I can't tell you.
I have no idea.
I have no idea. And it doesn't come from a place of like egoism and saying, no, you know, I'm going to I physically have to sit here and be like a little sacrificial lamb and try and figure out how to make this thing valid. Imagine walking into a room and trying to pitch something that does not exist. Which is why I say, for me, I had to make the switch and I had to go, okay, cool, this is not the space for me. I don't know where the space is. I'm probably going to fail, but hey, it's worth a try. And then you realize once you come into your own, like I'll never forget the day I actually met Losha for the first time. We were at some dance competition in Joburg, and I was like, oh God, play it cool. I'm gonna go.
Calm down.
I'm gonna go.
I was the same. I was
I'm
just
gonna
like,
go. And the first thing she said was, "I'm such a fan of yours."
Oh. Why?
Where do you go from? I had a whole speech prepared, like, "Hi, so lovely to meet you. I want you to know that I've grown up watching you, and you're the only like." And I was absolutely stunned. And it was, like I say, when I say little moments, that moment I will take to my grave.
Yeah.
Because she probably will never realize what that meant to a little color girl from Durban who had no frame of reference, who had no idea what she was doing. For somebody of that stature to say, you are valid and I see you.
It's unreal.
You know?
It's the recognition that you don't ask for, but you just naturally
You didn't even know. I didn't even know I needed it, to be honest.
You didn't.
But again, for me, stepping into my purpose is really making sure that I'm doing and being me authentically every day. If something is making me uncomfortable, it's having that power to make sure that I walk away from it. That's a purpose for me.
That's incredible. I remember when I met Losha for the first time, she casted me for the lead of a Vodacom TV commercial. I also had a full speech prepared because I was like, oh my God, it's Losha phoning me. What the hell, you know?
Yeah.
And when
Shout
I
out
saw
to the
her,
fact that you had a number.
like, you know? And when I got to set and I got to the audition, she was just like, you're perfect for the job. And I was like, oh my gosh, Losha sees me. And again, I had the same moment. I was like, I didn't know I needed this type of validation or recognition, but someone sees me and I wasn't expecting it. You know? What is the most important aspect of your life right now?
Important? Probably my career, my family, girlfriend, my dog, and making sure that I can enjoy that. I used to want to be someone who just works all the time, and I was never really present. I was just trying to get it done.
That's what I was just going to ask you. Have you been able to stay present through all of the things that you
I think I'm very much that person now.
Okay.
I have my moments where I'm maybe I'm just too tired, but that is like the main thing in my life right now is being present. So when people try and call me, I won't answer the phone if I know I can't give that person the time that they need in that moment. Yeah, I would say that's the most important thing.
That's amazing. That's incredible. I mean, it's been amazing to have you on the show. I've really enjoyed you. I have one last question. Well, two last questions. What are the little self rituals you stick to every single day? And tell us something that your followers actually don't know about you.
Sure. I don't know what people don't know. I'm quite
Come
an
on.
open book.
There must be one thing. Like a lot of people don't know that I can't swallow tablets at all.
Why?
And I'm gay. Like, how?
Doesn't make sense. Okay, so little daily rituals. I think, again, I struggle to have the same 2 days, but for me, it's always the same thing. I just get up, brush my teeth, have a cup of coffee, sit with my girlfriend, play with the dog, and then get the day started. That moment is very important for me. And she's also very busy, so sometimes that's a 6 o'clock thing. So that moment is very important and kind of sets my day up, where we run through each other's schedule for the day.
Yeah.
Like, so what are you doing? Oh, I'm doing this. So when am I going to see you? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not quite sure.
I don't want to see you. Like we and I appreciate that so much. I think having a person that can support you, like, not just romantically, but in all the shapes and forms that you come in, I think is amazing. So that moment is very important.
Shout out to Q.
Yeah, man. Not really. But, so that moment is very important. And then, I would say I don't really have rituals. I try not to tie myself to like specific things, because then I get paranoid very easily.
Yeah, because the feeling of disappointment is worse.
Yeah, this thing is not faced the right way. Yeah. Oh my gosh, man. No.
I find that a lot, especially with rituals. Like the feeling of disappointment is so much worse than staying on routine, actually, because if you mess up that routine once,
that's the thing. Yeah. Now, I will honestly 4 months from now be thinking about the fact that when I was putting the toothpaste lid on, it fell. Now I'm like, what does that mean? Lord, what are you trying to tell me? You know what I mean? So I try to stay away from that. But yeah, I would say that morning moment is very important.
And your biggest inspiration in life at the moment?
Me.
My biggest inspiration is yes. Thank you. I'm so glad you said that. I always say my biggest inspiration in my life is me in 5 years from now. Like the person I am at 35, that's my biggest inspiration, whoever I'm about to be.
Yeah.
You know?
If you asked me last year, I would have given you a list of things or people.
Yeah.
But right now, as I sit here, I think it's me. I think this year I've never been as busy
I have
before.
goosebumps.
Yeah, and for me, like honestly, I don't feel comfortable saying that, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I'm really learning to tap into myself and appreciate who I am as a person. I work very hard. I'm nice to people around me. I give everything I have. And sure, I suppose people have different versions of me, and that's cool. But it's got nothing to do with me. You know what I mean? Your opinion has nothing to do with me. But yeah, I honestly feel like what I've managed to achieve and what I know is still to come is something that inspires me. So, and again, I don't look at myself as me, if that makes any sense. Like I'm watching my experience.
It's like your own little Netflix series, and this is now season 25. Actually.
And often I'm like, what is happening in this story? Who wrote the script?
God, why are you speaking to that person? I don't understand.
No. But yeah, I think I'm very inspired by me right now.
That's incredible. Courtnaé, it's been absolutely amazing to have you on the show. Thank you so much for sitting in the seat and being super vulnerable with us. You can follow Courtnaé's journey all on social media platforms. It's at Courtnaé_Paul. We will link all of her socials in the description below. A huge thank you to all of our sponsors, Vodcast TV, Neon Feed, Clark Media, the entire Switch On team. You can stream this episode on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or watch the full episode on the Switch On YouTube channel. Do me a favor, use the hashtag SwitchOn, and don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below, or drop a review. We'd love to hear from you, and look at this episode and share the moments that inspire you. Thank you so much for watching and listening.